Hello lovely ladies, welcome to or back to my channel, Self Love Lexi. If you're new here, I'm a self-love coach. I teach women how to love themselves unconditionally. If you haven't yet, go follow my Instagram. I post content every single day, and through my Instagram you can access the link where I have some freebies including journaling prompts. I have a free group chat called Lovely Ladies that you can join as well. On there I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and there's a lot of links that you can see. For example, I love looking at self-development videos on YouTube. If I see one that I need you guys to watch as well, I'll just post a link to my group chat. Through the link as well, you can also access my free monthly group calls as well as looking at what I have to offer for one-on-one coaching. Let's get into this video. I'm so excited. It's self-love. As a self-love coach, I have so much to talk about this topic, but I really want to hone it in for this video and talk about my story with self-love, the actual definitions with self-love, and certain habits that you can take with you every single day. So I wrote down the actual definition. This is from just Google. Self-love, regard for one's own well-being and happiness. But I also have the definition of love, an intense feeling of deep affection. Now, if we take that just generalization of love, a deep feeling of intense an intense feeling of deep affection, and we turn that towards ourselves, we can kind of understand what self-love is. In a world that wants you to worry about everybody else but yourself, I am not against that, but I'm also very for having self-love. I have been told I've been selfish my whole life, all the time. Being selfish for me has gotten me more out of life than if I was a people pleaser. Because if I was a people pleaser and constantly thinking about what everyone else wanted, I would not be happy. I would not be where I am today. I would not be starting my channel. I would not be doing the things that I do. I would have had old friends, and in that old friendship, I would have continued cycles. And so being selfish is actually what brought me to where I am today. And I won't ever go back. I'm not saying be rude to everybody else. I'm just saying that honestly, choosing yourself, especially as a woman, is needed. Very much so. I feel like in this society especially, we are taught, women, especially if they have a kid, to always focus on everyone else but themselves. They focus on themselves last. Where in my life, even when I have a kid, even when I am married, that first few minutes of the day, they're for me solely and only for me. I will always put myself on a pedestal, not anybody else. Myself, I come first. In my life, I come first. But there's obviously situations where I can't come first. For example, if somebody I love dearly is sick, I'm going to drop everything in my life and be there for them. If I'm in a hospital, I'm going to drop everything and be there for them. But that's just the misunderstanding of being selfish. I'm going to be selfish. I am going to live with my purpose. I'm going to live doing what I want, not what you want me to do, if that makes sense. For me, when we look at self-love, I look at a huge container of different selves. There is self-trust, self-forgiveness, self-appreciation, self-respect, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and self-worth. And so I kind of just want to break these down. Self-trust. This one is huge. The ability to do what you said you're going to do and not do what you know you shouldn't do. That is so key for this. And I feel like this just baseline of self-trust can cultivate more things like self-worth and even confidence as well as conviction. Then self-forgiveness. Honestly, you need to forgive yourself for everything you've done before. Everything. You need to forgive everyone else as well. If we're not forgiving ourselves, we are holding on to this resentment, and it comes up later in life. Self-appreciation. This, nobody really talks about self-appreciation, but the way you talk to yourself is so key. We are so quick to judge ourselves when things go wrong. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Oh, why did I do that? But we are not used to saying things like, good job, you did so good today, I'm so proud of you. And so bringing that language into the mix, you're going to feel different. Self-appreciation is huge. Self-respect also ties into self-trust. If you don't have self-trust, you're not going to have self-respect. So I feel like self-trust is a layer on top of self-respect. Self-respect is having a certain level of standard for yourself and living up to it. This could be a standard in a relationship. This could be a standard for the time that you wake up every day. This could be a standard for how you eat most of the time. This could be a standard for everything, but the self-trust allows you to really build a self-respect on top. Self-compassion is also huge. This is kind of ties into self-appreciation and forgiveness. Things are not always going to go your way. It is life. You're human. Things are going to mess up. You're going to want to go somewhere. Can't go that way. You're going to wake up. Your alarm clock didn't work. Now you're sleeping in. Like, there's always going to be something that's not perfect. And having this level of self-compassion, being like, it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. I still love you regardless, is really going to help you on your self-love journey. I actually have a story with this. I was going to my G test or my G2 test. And I got super anxious on the way there. My mom was paying for the test and I was like, what if I fail? Oh my goodness, what if I fail? Da 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 da. And then I had a moment with myself in the car and I said, Alexis, I will love you either way. And I started breaking down crying in that moment. And I think the level of unconditional love, even though logically I know I am unconditionally loved by my mom and by my sister, sometimes when I was younger, it didn't feel like that. So having that level of unconditional love for myself really just broke something open in me. I had so much self-compassion in that moment. So it really healed something in me in that moment. But ever since then, I've spoken to myself with such compassion. If I missed the bus, next time we'll do this. It's okay. I still love you. I forgive you. Then we have self-acceptance. This one is also huge for self-love. One thing I tell my clients is if you are wanting to change anything, the first thing you need to do is accept it. So if you don't like the body you have right now, you must accept it first. Accept the body and then change. Because a lot of people change their body out of this insecurity and this state of self-hatred, and they think that's like motivating. Well, it can be motivating, but when you get to a point where you love your body, the undercover emotion of it is self-hatred, insecurity, and so that will just plant the seed and it will come up regardless. Where versus if you are in this state right now where you don't like your body, but you accept it and you are grateful for what it does to you, and you still have that discipline and that motivation to change it and eat healthier, the seed is planted with self-acceptance and with self-love. So that seed will just grow more and more and more. The last one is self-worth. I feel like this also ties into self-respect. Knowing your worth, knowing who you are, knowing your identity, and holding yourself to a certain standard. Just for example, in relationships, when I've raised my standard to a simple thing like opening my door for me, it very easily filters out the men who won't do that for me. And I don't want that. I want a man who wants to open my door for me. And I also do this in friendships. If you are very, very negative, it filters out those people. Those are my little definitions that make up my whole definition of self-love. I also have a separate definition that I created a while ago. I was in Mexico and I was talking to my mentor and he asked me, what's your definition of love? And it was something along the lines of daily actions to show somebody something. And so for me, self-love is taking consistent actions to show up for myself every single day. With that being said, I want to talk about my journey with self-love. When I was younger, I absolutely hated myself. Hated everything about myself. I would look in the mirror and I couldn't tell you one thing I liked. One thing. Not my eyes, not my nose, not my lips, not my hair, nothing. I hated everything. In fact, I would look in the mirror when I was super, super young, and I would take my stomach and I would pretend to cut it, or I would lift it up so much so I could see what I would look like without all the baby fat that I had on my stomach. And I would do the same thing with my face. I was so rude to myself. I would look in the mirror, any mirror I passed, oh, you're ugly, you're fat. I would always think about these things and say these things out loud. And my identity, my core identity of I'm not worthy, I'm not loved, I'm not lovable, was really leaking into myself and how I showed up. If I could think back to a time where I hated myself the most, my body was on display constantly because I was constantly subconsciously looking for that affection that I was unable to give myself in that moment. I was really doing harmful actions. Like I self-harmed when I was younger. I would always smoke and drink and vape. I ate like crap. I hung around people who probably weren't the best influences. Honestly, how I view it now is my identity really played a role in the actions that I took for myself. This would be an average day for me, okay? I would wake up, I would snooze my alarm. When I would wake up, I would go to the bathroom, I would look at myself and I couldn't stop thinking, you're so ugly. You're so fat. Why do you look like this? I hate you. You're a failure. Nobody likes you. You shouldn't even go to school. You shouldn't even be alive right now. Nobody would care if you died, These were just my normal thoughts that were going through my head at all times, because at this moment in my life, I didn't understand the power of your thoughts, nor did I understand the ability to control your thoughts. So these were just constantly rolling in my head. After that, I would smoke outside of my window right before school. And then I would play songs like Broken, which had very, very, very bad lyrics in it. If you listen to it, I don't advise it. I would listen to songs like Little Peep about drugs and dying and self-harm. And then I would go downstairs and I would steal shots from my mom, and I would take some alcohol and I would drink before school. And then I would maybe have a protein shake before class. I would go to school, and I hated school. I had really interesting phases of my life. Very interesting phases of my life. And because of this core identity that I held for so long, it led me to almost being like a loner at school. I really did not have any friends at all. And I had some pretty hard times in my life. But not getting into my whole life story, I had some really, really, really tough times in my life. And eventually, I saw a TikTok that talked about how your thoughts create your reality. And I was pissed. I was so mad. What do you mean I created where I was right now? How dare you say that to me? This planted a seed in my subconscious mind for sure, because I started to really, really notice how negative my thoughts were. For example, one time I was happy. I was actually happy. And my first thought was, when is this going to end? Because I had the identity of being somebody who was sad, being somebody who was depressed. And so I would constantly have these negative thoughts. Like I said, when I'd go in the bathroom in the morning, they just rolled through. At that time, I didn't have awareness that I could be in control, so I wasn't in control. I started to notice these thoughts, and I started to play around with them. I remember one time long story short, I was going to the bus that I thought I was going to be late for, and instead of freaking out like I originally was doing, I started saying to myself, everything happens for a reason. And then I went and I saw myself go from a state of super anxious to peace. And I had never been able to do that before, ever. My emotions felt like they were in control of me. And so for the first time, really, I felt in control of my emotions. And that's kind of when this spiral started of self-love. I then started journaling and writing down the things that have happened in my life. And I started forgiving. I started forgiving very, very, very slowly. My dad, my mom, my old friends, myself, the people who bullied me, all these things, right? And I slowly started forgiving people, including myself. And then I slowly started to change my thoughts and how I spoke to myself. When a situation would occur and I would be upset because maybe I did something stupid or silly, instead of calling myself stupid, I would say, you know what, it's okay. Things happen. And slowly over time, I just created such a sense of self-love and self-confidence. It became unshakable. It became unconditional. And this took me some time. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took me a lot because of the people I was surrounded with as well, the core identities that I had to break. It was definitely a roller coaster, a journey of self-love. Years. And there was new layers all the time. To this day, sometimes I see myself acting in a way that's like, maybe I should change that, Sometimes I see myself getting mad at myself or acting in a way that doesn't show a lot of self-respect. And so it is a journey, but I love the journey. I used to look into the mirror and my automatic thoughts were, I hate you. I hate you. And now when I look in the mirror, my automatic thoughts are, I love you and you're amazing and I'm so proud of you. And I think a lot of this is because I have accepted who I was. I started seeing past my physical body. When I was young, my worth was really, really tied to what I looked like, if boys like me, all these things. Whereas now my worth is just there. I'm worthy no matter what. I'm worthy because I'm breathing. You can't take it away from me. Nobody can give me worth or take worth. I just am worthy. That's the core belief I have. So I want to give you some daily actions to get there. But first, I kind of want to give you some cool information. You can actually get into a state of somebody who loves yourself unconditionally, and from that state you can see the actions that you would take. So for example, if you are deciding between two dishes that you're going to eat at a restaurant, what I want you to do is close your eyes and take a deep breath and hold your heart and start thinking and visualizing this version of yourself that is so in love with yourself, that loves your body, that wants to nourish your body and your being, that wants you to feel good and wants you to look good. And then see which version of you would pick what thing. This goes with relationships as well. Whenever I'm confused if I should keep this man in my life, I think of the version of myself with the most self-love. She's living her best life. Would she choose him or not? I do this with a lot. Like my definition before, taking consistent actions to show up. That is what my version of self-love is. And so some things I do every day are push-ups. I read every day. I speak to myself and speak love over my life every single day. I pray every single day. I show gratitude to myself and my life every single day. So here are just some normal daily actions that you can take to show up for yourself a little more. Getting good sleep. Yes, I'm young, but getting good sleep is so important. Please don't underestimate 8 hours of sleep. Getting good sleep. Drinking lots of water. Drink your water. Reading and writing. Reading is literally somebody's whole information put into a single place. Read. You will gain knowledge. You will have better ways to articulate yourselves. Reading is so amazing. It changed my life, to be honest with you. Being conscious of what's going in your eyes, ears, and your mouth. You are not only who you hang out with, but you are what you see all the time, what you consume with your ears and your mouth. You are what you eat. You are what you see. You are what you consume. If you're constantly listening to sad music and wonder why you're sad and depressed, change your music. If you wonder why you constantly are thinking that all men are trash, but on your For You page it's how to catch a cheater, change up what you're looking at. Change your environment and change your life. I love making this video. I can't wait to make more self-love videos. It truly is my passion. I've been somebody who truly hated myself, and I would never want anybody to feel that level of self-hate that I did. So love yourself as much as I love you. Follow for more. Mwah.